Hello friends, today we will be talking about the government schemes and government sponsored program which has been launched by Government of India specifically for upliftment of rural poor and development of rural areas. As you know, poverty is vein of our economy and it is one of the major problems. As per official estimates, around 26% of our population lives below the poverty line. Poverty line has been defined as 2400 calories per person per day in rural areas and 2100 calories per day per person in urban areas. You see, our definition of poverty takes into account only nutrition, and there has always been doubts that this does not reflect the correct picture of poverty in our country. Based on feedback, the government set up a committee under the chairmanship of Sri Suresh Tendulkar, which has estimated that around 37.2% of our population lives below poverty line. The committee's indicator has included health, education, sanitation, nutrition and income. Major reasons for poverty in our country are unemployment, underemployment, lack of development in agriculture, illiteracy and lack of skills in rural areas and increasing population. India being a democratic and welfare state, it has initiated major poverty alleviation programs and launched self-employment schemes for the population, major of which are SGSY, which is called Swarn Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojana, PMEGP, Prime Minister Employment Guarantee Program, NREGS, National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, and for rural connectivity, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. So, in this presentation, we will be talking about the objectives, major characteristics of the scheme, their progress, and how they have impacted the life of people. First of all, we will talk about SGSY. SGSY was launched on 1st April 1999 by Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India. The scheme was launched by integrating or combining various programs like IRDP, Dwakra, Trisem, Citra, Ganga Kalyan Yojana and Million Wells Scheme. The objective of SGSY is to bring the assisted rural poor families above poverty line by ensuring sustained increase in their income. And the increase was defined that families' net income should be more than 2,000 per month after a 3-year period. Net income means the income which the family would get after repayment of the loan. SGSY key components. There are few key components of SGSY which are described. Social mobilization, that means formation of groups of rural poor, training and capacity building, income generating activities, providing infrastructural and market facilities, credit and subsidy. Social mobilization means formation of groups. This concept of formation of groups was adopted by Government of India by seeing the success of SHG bank linkage program launched by NABARD. And groups are being formed by facilitators or NGO or community based organizations. The concept is that one person from one family is taken in the group. The maximum number of persons can be 20, minimum number of persons can be 10, and these groups In case of physically handicapped and minor irrigation, the number can be formed 5. One member should not be the member of more than one group. These groups are required to meet regularly, interact with each other, and make savings and undertake internal loaning, maintain records. Based on the group activity, the groups are eligible for receiving assistance from banks and block. But before they receive assistance from bank and subsidy from block, it is necessary that they are given proper training and their capacity is built to handle money. So there has a concept of minimum skill requirement has been introduced in this program. That is, the beneficiaries are Swarojgaris who are going to undertake some activity. They will be assessed by line department for technical skills and by bankers for managerial skills. And based on this, a minimum skill requirement will be assessed, will be made, and the groups will be given a basic orientation training after sanction of loan and before disbursement of loan, so that they understand the objective of the scheme, they know which activities they are going to take, what are the skills which are required for properly undertaking that activity. Next is skill development training. If the bankers or department feel that the Swarojgaris do not have the necessary skills, then they will be provided additional skills training which can be of maximum 15 days. This training can be provided by Polytechnic, Government Department, KVKs, etc. Income generation. The group ultimately has to take up income generating activity so that they generate income and make repayment to the bank, increase their consumption and production. For income generation, the scheme emphasizes that some key activities would be identified which will be implemented on cluster basis. These key activities would be identified by the block level SGSY committee. Block level SGSY committee will identify a maximum of 10 activities which will be ratified by district SGSY committee. The block level SGSY committee would identify these activities based on raw material, market and skills available in that area. Cluster approach. Cluster approach is adopted for implementation of these activities. As every activity requires some backward and forward linkage, so it was decided that activities may be taken in a area where these infrastructural facilities can be provided easily. And block level SGSY committee was asked to identify villages where these activities would be implemented on cluster basis. Revolving fund. The groups are not given bank loan directly. During first 6 months, they are asked to save and lend within their group members so that they learn to handle money. That's why a compulsory saving component has been built up in this scheme. Once the members are comfortable in dealing with their own money, lending it and recovering it in time, they are eligible for revolving fund assistance from block. And this revolving fund assistance is given on the grading that is called first grading. Once the groups pass first grading, they are eligible for CC limit from the banks. The CC limit is based on the corpus of the group, which includes savings, interest on savings, interloaning, interest on interloaning, and also revolving fund provided by the block. The revolving fund can be minimum 5,000 and maximum rupees 10,000. CC limit can be sanctioned by bank to the maximum of 4 times of the corpus. The banks are not supposed to charge interest on revolving fund provided by the block. Bank loan cum subsidy. After another 6 months, the groups are eligible to take up economic activity. For these activities, they need bank loan. And government has also made a provision for providing subsidy. So, if the group decides to take up farm sector activities like dairy, poultry, for this project cost is based on the unit cost approved by NABARD. And for non-farm sector activities, unit cost is to be decided by district SGSY committee. Subsidy is uniform for general candidate 30% of the project cost, maximum 7,500 per beneficiary. For SC/ST candidates, it is 50% of the project cost or 10,000 maximum. For SHGs group as a whole, 50% of the project cost, maximum rupees 1.25 lakh. The bank loan is sanctioned after the second grading. The grading looks into whether group has successfully lent and recovered the money, whether it has identified the economic activity, whether it has got the required skill to take up these activities, and whether necessary infrastructure facilities are available for undertaking these activities. Based on this, bank loan is sanctioned. The subsidy is back-ended. Here I would like to explain that there are 2 types of subsidy. One is front-ended. That means as soon as you avail loan, subsidy is given and adjusted in your loan account. But in case of back-ended subsidy, subsidy is given but it is kept separately and it adjusted at the end of the project or when your repayments are becoming last installments you are going to pay. Against that, this subsidy is adjusted. Another concept of lock-in period has been introduced in this scheme. The concept of lock-in period has been introduced to prevent misutilization of subsidy. Earlier, the influential people used to take loan and repay within 6 months and used to grab the subsidy. It is because of that this lock-in period has been introduced, and against the repayment period of 5 years, 7 years and 9 years, the lock-in periods are 3 years, 4 years and 5 years. Even if you pay after the minimum lock-in period, you are eligible for the subsidy at pro rata basis. This subsidy is kept separately in a subsidy reserve fund and adjusted against last few installments. No interest is charged on subsidy amount. Safeguards or reservations. Although this scheme is meant for poor people, but to safeguard the interest of disadvantaged, there have been some reservation. 50% of SC/STs should be covered as beneficiaries. 40% of the women should be covered as beneficiaries, 15% minorities and 3% physically handicapped persons. Marketing support. The scheme not only provides bank loan and subsidy, but it also provides marketing support. Saras Melas are being organized at national and state level. The DRDA sponsors the SHGs and Swarojgaris for participation in other Melas, and Saras showrooms are being opened at district level. Progress for last 3 years is given during 2007-8 against a target of 13.53 lakh beneficiaries. 16.99 lakhs Swarojgaris were covered, and banks lent an amount of 2,760 crores. During 2008-9, against a target of 17.63 lakhs Swarojgari, 18.62 lakhs Swarojgaris were covered under the scheme, and banks lent an amount of 3,530 crores. During 2009-10, the progress is available up to June 2009. Against a target of 18.22 lakh Swarojgaris, 3.06 lakh Swarojgaris have been covered, and banks had disbursed a loan of 330 crores. Issues and concern. The scheme has completed a period of 10 years, and the government has undertaken a review of the scheme. It has shown some concern, some issues have been identified, major of which are being discussed here. Uneven spread among the states. It has been found out that the states which have major poor population, there the scheme has not done so well. Like in northern and northeastern states, BPL population in rural area is 63%, but only 40% of the SHGs have been formed in these states. While in southern state, only 11% are rural BPL, but 33% SHGs are formed in these states. High attrition rate. That means groups are not going to next stage. Only 23% of the groups have been able to take up income generating activities. They have not been provided the enough credit because of the lack of staff and sparse bank branch network and complicated procedures of the bank. Though there has been provision of capacity building and training of Swarojgaris, but in few states it has not been followed correctly. There has been no SHG federation, which has affected their collective bargaining power and also their capacity to solve their own problems. And risk coverage for beneficiaries in the form of life, accident and health has been minimal. Based on this, the Government of India is going to undertake restructuring of SGSY, and which will be known as National Rural Livelihood Mission or NRLM. It will be implemented up to 12th 5-year plan 2016 to 2017. The mission will have defined outputs and outcomes. Objective of the mission is to reduce poverty among rural BPL through promotion of diversified and gainful self-employment and wage employment opportunities to provide appreciable increase in income on sustainable basis. The major difference between SGSY and NRLM would be that it would also provide wage employment opportunities. The output and outcome targets have been fixed. 28 lakh BPL families to be covered under SHG formation by 2016-17. Number of rural youth to be provided skill development are 75 lakhs. 16 lakh SHG would reach micro enterprise level by 2016-17, and all the 70 lakh rural BPL youth would be provided placement. What is new in it? Increased revolving fund. As we have seen that in SGSY the revolving fund was 10,000, but here it has been increased to rupees 15,000. Then increased capital subsidy against 7,500 and 10,000, it has been increased to 15,000 and 20,000, and for group as a whole it has been increased to 2.50 lakhs. Interest subsidy. Another component of interest subsidy has been added in this program, and the difference between rate of interest charged by the bank and 6% would be paid by the government, and provision of wage employment is new. Then universalization of SHGs by 2014-15. The government has decided that all rural BPL families would be covered under SHG by 2014-15. They have also made monetary provisions of grant for creation of federation and village, block and district level. And convergence with other programs, they are also trying to converge with other government programs like NREGA, RSBY, etc. NREGAs. So friends, now we would be talking about NREGA or NREGS, National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. As you know, this is a very ambitious scheme to provide 100 days of guaranteed base employment in a financial year to every household whose adult members volunteer to do unskilled manual work. The scheme is governed by National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005. The scheme has been renamed as Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme or MNREGS. This scheme, all districts except which have 100% urban population are covered. At present, 614 districts are covered under this scheme. Salient features of the scheme. Salient features of the scheme are that adult members of rural household may apply for registration to Gram Panchayat. These adult members should be willing to do unskilled manual work. The Gram Panchayat, after verification, would issue them job card. Here I would like to tell you that job card is like a ration card. In ration card you have names of all the family members, but in job card you have the names of only adult members of a family who are willing to do this manual work. Job card will bear all photographs and it is free of cost. Nothing is to be charged from the beneficiary. The job card should be issued within 15 days of the application. Here one more thing is that this is a demand based program. That means the beneficiary has to demand the work that I should be given the wage employment. So for doing that he has to submit a written application to the Gram Panchayat telling that this is the time and duration I need the work. The Gram Panchayat has to issue a dated receipt against his application and which says that this employment would be provided within 15 days of receipt of this notice or demand notice. In case the Gram Panchayat is unable to provide the work within 15 days, the worker is eligible for unemployment allowance. For first 30 days, the worker will get 1/4 of the wages and thereafter he will get 1/2 of the wages. He has to make a claim to Gram Panchayat or block official for the same along with the receipt which has been issued by the Gram Panchayat when he had applied for employment. And the scheme has made many safeguards, has got many safeguards for the worker. One, it says that work should ordinarily be provided within the 5 kilometer radius of the worker. In case it is not provided within the 5 kilometer radius, extra wages of 10% are payable to meet additional transportation and living expenses. The wages are to be paid according to Minimum Wages Act and not less than rupees 60 per day. Another feature is that equal wages would be provided to both men and women. Then disbursement of wages has to be done on weekly basis and not beyond a fortnight in any case. Another scheme launched by Government of India is of financial inclusion, and NREGA has made it compulsory that wages payment is made through the bank account or post office account. So this scheme has immensely helped in financial inclusion of the rural poor, and the wages have to pay it through bank account only. Then a 60-40 wage and material ratio has to be maintained by the Gram Panchayat. That means major component has to be reserved for wages and lesser for material. Another restriction is that no contractor or machinery can be used under the scheme, and Gram Panchayats will be allotted minimum 50% of the work. Many permissible works have been described in the scheme, like water conservation and water harvesting, drought proofing, including afforestation and tree plantation, irrigation canals, including micro and minor irrigation works, land development to land owned by household belonging to SC/ST or to the land of beneficiaries of land reforms or to the land of beneficiaries under Indira Awas Yojana BPL families. Here a special provision has been made that even beneficiaries can do work at their farms, and even then they are eligible for the wages, and it is some categories who are eligible for these activities like SC/ST, BPL families, etc. Another thing is that this NREGA is not meant only for BPL families. There is no restriction between BPL and APL. Renovation of traditional water bodies, land development, flood control and protection works, rural connectivity, any other work that may be notified by central government in consultation with state government. Transparency measures. Keeping in view the large amount the government is spending on this scheme and it has got a major impact in the rural area, transparency measures have been introduced. They can be divided into two parts. One is maintenance of documents and other is processes. Like job cards are to be kept in the custody of workers themselves, written application for employment, muster rolls, measurement books, asset registers, etc. Processes include acceptance of employment application, issue of receipt against the employment application, time-bound work allocation and wage payment, citizen information board at work site, monitoring committees and social audits, etc. Paradigm shift from wage employment programs. What is the difference in this wage employment program from the earlier wage employment program is that it provides a statutory guarantee of wage employment. Legally you can ask for the wage employment, and it is a right based framework for wage employment. That means you have to ask for it. It is your right. If you ask, it is to be given. And there is 15 days time limit for fulfilling the legal guarantee. Progress at a glance. Last 3 years progress. Household demanding employment in 2006-07, 2.12 crores. Employment provided to household 2.10 crores. 90.51 crore man days work was created under the scheme. Similarly, in 2007-08, 3.43 crore household demanded the work and 3.39 crore households were provided the work, and man days were 143.68 crore man days work were created. In 2008-9, 4.54 crore households demanded the work and 4.50 crore households were provided the work, and 216.04 crore man-days of work were created. So the scheme has made an impact in rural area just by providing self-employment opportunities or base employment opportunities. The rural prosperity cannot be ensured. The connectivity in rural areas is a great problem, and without providing better connectivity in forms of road, telephone connections, the rural prosperity cannot be ensured. That's why Government of India on 25th December 2000 launched a program called Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, PMGSY. The primary objective of this program was to connect habitations which were having population more than 1000 by 2003 and population which were having more than habitations which were having population more than 500 by 2007. In case of hill and northeastern states, the population criteria was reduced to 250. Secondary objective was to upgrade the existing roads to ensure all-weather farm to market connectivity. The major emphasis was creation of rural network which have all-weather connectivity, because even though there are rural roads, but they become unmotorable during rainy season. And it is estimated that this program would need an investment of 1,32,000 crores. Here you will see that the connectivity has been defined in terms of habitation. It is not in terms of village, revenue village or panchayat. Habitation means a cluster of population which permanently lives in that area. It can be called desam, dhanis, tolas, majras, hamlets in different states, different areas. And the unconnected habitation is one which is located at a distance of 500 meters or more from an all-weather road or a connected habitation. In case of hills, it is 1.5 kilometer of path distance. The population would be decided on the basis of census 2001, and this PMGSY would adopt a cluster approach. That means if there are separate tolas in an area, they will be taken together and one common road will be provided to them. This PMGSY emphasizes only single road connectivity. If any area, any habitation is linked by a road connectivity from any side, it will not be covered under PMGSY. So how the planning of PMGSY would start? They said there will be a survey of the district, rural area in the district, and they will prepare a core network. Core network means minimal network which will connect all the habitations through a single all-weather road. And based on that, a district rural road plan would be prepared which will have core network plan and also the existing road network plan. Based on that, they will identify the roads which are to be taken for construction. Here the inputs from elected representatives like MPs and MLAs would also be taken into consideration. PMGSY has made a difference in the rural area by creating all-weather roads, and the progress can be seen if you visit any rural area. Just to sum up, during 2008-9, 24,026 kilometers of new connectivity was created. That means new roads were made, and 48,668 kilometer roads have been upgraded. Here upgradation means that roads were already there, they have been upgraded, and there was a condition that upgradation can take place only when there are no new roads to be constructed. Overall, 11,398 habitations have been linked during 2008-9, and as on March 2009, 31,927 habitations have been covered. So it is a very good scheme, and you can see that many rural areas have been connected, their farm incomes have improved, and their access to health facilities, medical facilities have also improved.
Authorities in Assam have constructed all-weather roads in rural areas under the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana or PMGSY. The project has provided employment for locals and has ensured better infrastructure in the region. PMGSY project was launched by the central government of India. For instance, the developmental project executed under the PMGSY has been much appreciated by the locals in Tukrakuchi region of Buxa district. Earlier, the roads were uneven and slushy with no proper orientation to serve the local users. School-going children used to face innumerable difficulties. However, with the construction of all-weather roads, the locals as well as the school-going children are finding it a pleasure to amble along. This linking of rural areas under the PMGSY has ushered a new dawn in the lives of the villagers in the northeast. The PMGSY that was launched on December 2000 has been a boon to the people of rural India who until then used to feel isolated from the mainstream of society.
The Rural Road Developmental Scheme launched by the Indian Prime Minister is being applauded by the villagers of Kodarma in Jharkhand. The scheme was launched in the year 2000 to improve the condition of the rural roads in India and to facilitate development. The villagers in Kodarma district are very happy with the scheme as this 8-kilometer long road connects about 20 villages with each other and the road has greater connectivity with bigger cities. The farmers in the village are also benefiting from the road. This road is directly connected to the National Highway 33. The road has enabled the farmers to sell their produce directly in the open market, thus avoiding middlemen. Villagers feel that the road will speed up the developmental process and enlighten them more because of increased interaction with the cities. The scheme is to be implemented in phases. Population in the area would govern the number of roads under each phase.
So friends, now we will be talking about Prime Minister Employment Guarantee Program. As you know, earlier the Prime Minister Rozgar Yojana was being implemented, but on 15th August 2008 this new scheme has been launched. This new scheme has got the components of two schemes. One is PMRY, another is Rural Employment Generation Program of KVIC. The objective of the program is to create employment opportunities in rural as well as urban areas of the country through setting up of micro enterprises. This will check the rural-urban migration, and this will also give continuous and sustainable employment to large segment of the traditional and prospective artisans and unemployed youth in the country. We will see how much subsidy and how much contribution beneficiary has to make in case he takes up any project under this program. The subsidy and contribution has been differentiated on the basis of category of the borrowers and area of the activity. Like if there is a general category candidate, he has to provide 10% margin money or beneficiary's contribution. And if he is setting up unit in urban area, he will get 15% subsidy, and if he is setting up unit in rural area, he will get 25% subsidy. A special category like SC, ST, OBC, minorities, women, physically handicapped, they have to give only 5% margin money, and if they set up unit in urban area, they will get 25% of the subsidy, and in rural area they will get 35% subsidy. Similarly, if the unit is being set up in northeastern region, hill or border region, they would also get the benefit of a special category. Project cost and bank loan. The project cost, maximum project cost under the manufacturing sector is rupees 25 lakhs, and under business and services sector it is rupees 10 lakh. Manufacturing sector means basically industrial activity where some product is being manufactured or produced. Service sectors, if we define, it can be like repairs, photocopying, all these activities, business, retail, trade, etc. The bank will provide the loan excluding the subsidy and beneficiary's contribution. Project cost. Project cost will include capital expenditure and one cycle of working capital. Capital expenditure means the expenditure incurred for acquiring machines, making buildings, and also equipments, etc. Working capital means the capital which is required for our day-to-day work. And here it is saying if the project does not include any capital expenditure, they are not eligible under this. That means simply working capital requirement cannot be financed under this scheme. Eligibility condition. Any individual above 18 years of age is eligible. Then there is no income ceiling. If you compare with PMRY, earlier the ceiling was rupees 40,000 family income per annum. So it is a great relaxation. Now the scheme is not applicable only for below poverty line people or those who have a small income, but anybody who wants to take up micro enterprise, he can set up the unit. Educational qualification has also been relaxed. In case of PMRY, earlier the beneficiary has to pass 8th for taking up any activity. But here only if he wants to set up unit in manufacturing sector which has got a project cost of 10 lakh or in services sector which has got a project cost of 5 lakh, he needs to be 8th pass. Otherwise, even illiterate person can set up the units. The only thing is that only new units are considered under the scheme, and the units which have already been financed under PMRY, REGP or any other government of India or state government scheme, they are not eligible for the subsidy. Another major characteristic of this scheme is that SHGs, even those SHGs which belong to BPL, provided they have not availed subsidy there, they can take benefit from this scheme. And also societies registered under Registration Act 1860, production cooperative societies, charitable trusts are also eligible under this PMEGP. Implementing agencies. The scheme will be implemented by KVIC, which is a nodal agency. At state level, State Khadi Board and DIC will sponsor the cases in rural areas, and in urban areas the scheme is the DIC will sponsor the cases to banks. In case of banks, earlier RRBs were not covered, were not eligible to finance PMRY beneficiaries, but under this scheme they are also eligible to finance, and they have also made a major contribution in financing of PMEGP. Now friends, we will be talking about Agriculture Debt Waiver and Debt Relief Scheme 2008. This is a scheme which was introduced by Government of India for providing relief to farmers who were in distress because of the drought, because of the poor productivity and because of the adverse terms of trade. Scope of the scheme. The scheme covered only all direct agriculture loans extended to farmers, and these loans could have been issued by scheduled commercial banks, RRBs, cooperatives and local area banks. Direct agriculture loan means short-term production loan or investment loan provided directly to farmers for agriculture or allied activities. Allied activities means the activities which are being done by the farmers along with agriculture, like dairy, poultry, goatry, etc. Not only farmers but the groups of farmers were also eligible under the scheme, like SHGs and JLGs. Short-term production loan. What do we mean by short-term production loan? Any loan which has been given for raising crop and which is repayable within 18 months is short-term production loan. They also made a provision for including working capital for plantation and horticulture crops. The working capital, if it does not exceed 1 lakh, that was also covered under the scheme. And gold loans issued for agriculture purpose. As you know, in South India, gold loan is very popular, and many farmers take loan by pledging the gold. So that purpose was also included in this. Investment loan, that means the loan which creates capital asset so that our productivity can increase. And term loan for direct agriculture activities like deepening of well, sinking of new well, installation of pump set, tractors, land development, plantation, horticulture. Allied activities like dairy, poultry, goatry, piggery, sheep, fisheries, beekeeping, etc. All these things were described in a circular and details are available there, but these are the basics. Accounts not eligible. The Government of India also prescribed that these accounts should not be covered under the scheme. One is advance against pledge and hypothecation of agriculture produce. Then agriculture finance to corporates, partnership firms, cooperative societies, and prudentially written off accounts. Prudentially written off accounts means the banks sometime they decide that this account, no recovery can be made in this account, and they write off that account. But recovery efforts continue to be made. So such type of accounts were not covered because banks had already removed them from their books of accounts. Eligibility condition. The scheme divided the farmers into two categories. One was a small and marginal farmer, other was other farmer. Marginal farmer was described as farmer which is cultivating agricultural land up to 1 hectare, and a small farmer was defined as an farmer who was cultivating land up to 2 hectares. The farmers cultivating agricultural land more than 2 hectares were defined as other farmers. This was applicable in case of crop loan and agricultural loans. But in case of allied activities, because land is not the criteria, the government defined it in the terms of principal loan amount. And in case of allied activities, the principal loan amount up to 50,000 whosoever availed, they were categorized as small and marginal farmers. And where the principal loan amount exceeded rupees 50,000, they were categorized as other farmers. Debt waiver. In case of small and marginal farmers, the entire eligible amount was to be waived. Debt relief. In case of other farmers, they will be given relief in form of 20% of the amount. They had to pay 75% of the eligible amount by 31st December 2009. which accounts were covered under these schemes? Eligible accounts. The accounts where the loans were disbursed between 1st April 1997 and 31st March 2007, and the loans which remained overdue as on 31st December 2007 and which remain unpaid until 29th February 2008. Only those loans which fulfilled all these conditions were covered under debt waiver or debt relief. In case of LT loans, long-term loans, only installments together with interest were covered under this agriculture debt waiver debt relief scheme. The scheme was implemented up to 30th June 2008 and prescribed the borrowers, small and marginal farmers who have received the debt waiver, they should be financed with effect from 1st July 2008, and the other farmers who were covered under the debt relief scheme, if they repay 1/3 of the amount, then they were eligible for the crop loan. Only when they repay total amount, they were eligible for the term loan for allied activity or other activities. Based on this, the agriculture debt waiver and debt relief scheme was implemented by the banks. NABARD and RBI were supervising agencies. NABARD supervised the functioning of RRBs and Central Cooperative Bank and LDBs, while Reserve Bank supervised the functioning of commercial bank, local area bank and urban cooperative banks. The scheme was implemented well in time and a progress 3.68 crores farmers have been covered and an amount of 65,318.33 crore has been given in form of debt waiver and debt relief. This has made the farmers eligible for fresh finance, and this has also solved to some extent the problems of NPAs of banks under the agriculture sector. So, in short, these were the schemes. We have discussed about SDSY, then restructuring of SDSY into NRLM, then we have discussed about NAREGA, then we have discussed about PMEGP, PMGSY and also ADWDR. Thank you.
People of a village in Uttar Pradesh say their lives have changed for good after the introduction of various schemes by the Congress-led ruling coalition United Progressive Alliance. Villagers of Sirgamau village, situated 68 kilometers from the state capital Lucknow, have been a happy lot after initiatives like the Grameen Rozgar Guarantee Yojana or Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme gave them regular employment and payments. The programs have been introduced with the help of the village council. In order to meet the needs of rural India, the UPA government has launched various schemes including rural housing, Indira Awas Yojana, Employment Assurance Scheme, Scheme for Land Development and self-help groups.
According to the district development officer of Ramdev village, unskilled labourers working under the scheme are guaranteed a minimum wage of ₹100 for 7 hours of work. The NREGA Act provides for the enhancement of livelihood security of the households in rural areas of the country by providing at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment in every financial year to every household whose adult members volunteer to do unskilled manual work.
हाँ हो गया अंकल का भी। साउंड फाइल को कैसे सेव करें भाई? हाँ नहीं, राउंड तो रिकॉर्डिंग वाला है। हाँ 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 राइट।